For our first dinner of the week, I was right in the middle of a busy meal prep for the week, and knowing that I would be super busy when I went to the store, I picked up a couple of these rotisserie chickens, and I just took all of the meat off the bones and put it into this pot and decided that I would then move it to the crock pot instead of cooking it on the stovetop. That way it would be even easier and I wouldn't have to think about it. So I am just getting a liner in my crock pot just to make cleanup super simple. And I put all of that shredded chicken into my crock pot and made sure that it was all broken up into bite-sized pieces. I then added a can of these red gold diced tomatoes with green chilies, and I'm using a packet of ranchero seasoning, I believe is what it was. It was something that I picked up on clearance at Ollie's, and it was in my pantry, and I just added some liquid to that, and I put the lid on and let it go. In another crock pot, I am using a can of apple pie filling that I have had in my pantry for a while. My husband had mentioned that he wanted apple pie or something like that. And so I just decided that I would make a little bit of a crock pot dessert. This little crock pot here is one that I got from Salvation Army. You could see the price tag on it. I do like it because it's little, and it's basically one of those that just has an on and off button. And so in another bowl, I'm just mixing a package of blueberry muffin mix with the milk that it called for on the directions, and I'm going to give that a stir and make sure that I'm not over stirring. And all I'm going to do is just put that into the crock pot with the apple pie filling and then just give it a really light mix. And then I'm just going to put some melted butter in there as well and put the lid on and just let it go. This was super easy. I don't know if you would call this maybe like a cobbler or a dump cake, something like that, but it just was very easy to whip up, and I had the time, so why not just put everything in my crock pots today and let it do the cooking for me. Meanwhile, I had my rotisserie chicken carcass in this pan with some water and some seasonings. I'm just putting some soul seasoning and some lemon pepper in there and just letting that go. And so in a skillet, I just put some oil in it and got that heated up. I have a can of pinto beans that I drained and rinsed, and then I'm just putting them in that skillet with the oil and adding some garlic powder and some cumin. And then I'm just going to put some of that chicken broth from that carcass that I boiled into these beans and let them cook down. And once they get heated up and softened, which they're already pretty soft because they're already canned, of course. So I'm just going to take a masher and mash up my beans. They do look really soupy, but that's okay because they do thicken up as you mash them and as they cool down. I've been making refried beans this way for the last few months, and we do like them a lot better than the mushy canned ones that I used to buy. So this way I can just add some broth and whatever seasonings I like and then mix or mash them down to the consistency that we like. And we like ours to be pretty chunky. And I don't know if this is technically the right way to make beans, but it's the way that I make them. I shredded up some lettuce, and then I just cut an avocado in half, removed the pit, and then just squeezed it into my bowl. I don't like guacamole, but I love avocados, so I just have some Doritos in my bowl, some avocado, and then I'm just putting some of those refried beans in there as well. And then I'm just going to put some of that seasoned chicken that has been cooking in my crock pot on top of my Doritos, and then I'm going to just drizzle some queso cheese on top, a dollop of sour cream, and then I just add a little bit of hot sauce to mine. And here are our taco bowls that we had for dinner. And here is how the Crock Pot apple blueberry cobbler turned out. It was super simple. It was only 3 ingredients from my pantry, and it was really tasty. The following dinner was a can of Hormel chili and crackers for me in my car. This was my dinner break at work, and my husband made these cheeseburger wonton roll-ups with some tater tots at home. This was a super busy and hectic week for us. I actually had 2 late nights at work. It was almost 3, so there were plenty of times that we just weren't even in the same place at the same time to have dinner together, but we survived. We made it through. And moving on to the next night, it was also a night that I worked a late shift, and so before I went in, I picked up some of these subs from the grocery store and decided that we would just add extra stuff to them. I removed the meat and the cheese and rearranged it. As you can see, it is kind of like all bunched together in one spot. So these subs had salami and turkey on them, and I had cut it in half. I'm cutting it in half again, and I was really quickly making one for me and one for Dawson to take to work because we both had to work, and then Cameron and Bill would be at home to eat theirs at home. I didn't toast mine, but I know that Bill toasted his and Cam's. That is just because I didn't want it to be all dried out at work when I did have time to eat it. So I am just rearranging the cheese that came on these subs, and then I'm going to add some cheese that we had at home. So I believe this is mild cheddar, and then the other is probably provolone. I know it's very cheesy and it's very meaty, but you know, I always say if you're going to have a sandwich for dinner, have a sandwich. And so I'm really going to just pile this up with cheese and with meat and make it count. I picked up some deli chicken or lunch meat chicken, and I'm going to add that as well. I cut up some lettuce and I am adding that too. I always seem to forget what the heck I am doing when I'm making sandwiches. So at first I put the sandwich on top of the cheese and then remembered that I had more meat to add. So here I am just rearranging the lettuce. Oh my, whatever. Maybe one day I'll get it together when I'm making sandwiches. So like I said, I just added some lunch meat type chicken to these sandwiches as well. And then I just put some mayo and some mustard. I am using a Kraft mayo because that is the only mayo that was in the store when I went shopping. And then I'm just going to put these sandwiches back together, wrap them up with plastic, and then they'll be good to go. Bill has just been having such a busy week at work as well as myself, and I knew that he was not going to feel like cooking when he got home, and then with me needing something to take to work, this just seemed like a really easy way to get us all fed. And so I just added a smashed avocado cup to mine for dinner as well. Wednesday was another work day, but at least we were all home at the same time for dinner. And to get started, I am just washing up some potatoes, and I'm just giving them a poke with this knife just to get them a little ventilation going on so that when I put them in the oven and bake them, they will cook all the way through. I'm hitting each potato with some olive oil and then just getting some coarse salt on them all so that when they bake, that outer skin gets nice and crispy and tasty. And so my chicken breast I had cut into halves and trimmed them up really good when I did my weekly prep over the weekend. So these were ready to go. So I was very grateful that I took the time over the weekend and did that, because every day I just had not really felt like cooking. That happens sometimes. I do love to cook, and I do cook a lot of our meals, but sometimes I just do not feel like it. And then most of the time, it's like one day a week that I won't feel like cooking. And for whatever reason, I just did not feel like cooking like pretty much every day this week. So for these chicken breast cutlets, I am just seasoning them up with some garlic powder, salt and pepper, and some Cajun seasoning. And then in my pan here, I just have some Brussels sprouts. I did not trim off the ends. I just, like I said, I wasn't feeling like cooking. I added some of that chicken broth, which was in my refrigerator, and it had turned to a gel, which I'm okay with. I just added some water to that to what would you call it? Reconstitute it or whatever. But anyway, then I just flipped over my chicken breast and seasoned the other side. And I'm getting this red pepper cut up, and it's broken because it got kind of smashed under some other things in the box when I got my Misfits Market order, but that's okay because I'm going to cut it up into strips. This pepper was so flavorful in this Cajun chicken dish. It was the perfect complement. It had a sweet taste because it's, a red pepper. But anyway, with that spicy and sweet, it was just so good. And so I'm cutting up a couple of green onions, and I'm going to toss those right in with my chicken as well. I like my onions to be cooked. I am not a fan of raw onions. So that's why I am adding them into the dish as it's cooking and not at the end. But of course, if you want your green ends to your onions to be fresh looking or crunchy or whatever, then you would just probably add it at the end when it's all done. And I'm just rearranging these chicken breasts because I decided I wanted to cook all of them, and I did have 10 breasts all together, but I like to do a little extra cooking when I can. That way we have leftovers, or I have the meat already cooked up for other uses when I need it. It's a little shortcut that I do, and it saves me time in the long run. Now, originally I was going to bread the chicken and then just kind of shallow fry it in the frying pan, and then make my Cajun sauce a creamy Cajun sauce. But when I got home from work and I started looking around, I didn't have all of the ingredients. Like don't even think I had enough flour to bread all of this chicken. So I'm just winging it here, and I just decided that I would cook it up in the skillet without breading and get a nice sear on it. Add my veggies into the pan, and then using my chicken broth and the spices that I'm cooking with, just make kind of a thinner sauce, not a cream sauce, and see how it turned out. And my husband he's a big Cajun everything fan. So he said this is like one of his top chicken favorites, and so that says a lot. It actually was really good. A little spicy, but we like spice at our house. In here I'm just adding some of that chicken broth that I've been using and getting that thinned out. It does turn back into a liquid, and it has so much flavor to it. And so I'm gonna put the lid on and let those vegetables get nice and tender. In one of my small mason glasses, jars, whatever you call it, I am just making a cornstarch and water slurry. I did have to add more water to that because so much of the cornstarch dumped into the cup that I almost had a science project on my hands. So you do want to be careful about that. but it turned out fine. You just have to play around sometimes if you're eyeballing it, which I usually do. And I just added more water to it and it was fine. And then here I have my plate all plated up and my baked potato is ready. I did not realize when I was filming this or until I started to eat my potato that I did have a pretty gray corner going on at the bottom of that potato. Nothing I can do about it now, but my butter was really hard, so I melted it in the microwave and I just am spooning some of that butter over it. I obviously did not eat that dark part of the potato. I cut it off. I just wish I would have noticed it before I started eating because it wasn't something that I wanted to find on my plate, if you know what I mean. So I'm just having some sour cream with my baked potato and of course more salt and pepper. And this chicken dish was a big hit. Thursday night was kind of like a breaking point for us. We had just had it with this busy, crazy week, and our favorite Mexican restaurant has reopened. So we went out to eat. This is a tamale and tacos that I had. My husband had a tostada, and it was all delicious. And finally, it's Friday, and guess who doesn't feel like cooking? But I knew that I had some ground beef that I picked up on sale in the refrigerator that needed to be used as it was starting to turn a little gray. And so I had 2 big packages that I just threw into the skillet and cooked up all at once. I just seasoned it with garlic powder, salt, and pepper, and I decided that the portion that I was using for this night, I would just make a quick goulash. And Cameron decided he wanted these hamburger helper mac and cheese, and he would just add some of the ground beef to his. And so I just cooked that up, divided it, and then I put the rest in the freezer. And I added some diced up tomatoes and green chilies. I wanted more green chilies, but I didn't feel like cutting up bell peppers or any kind of pepper, so I just added a can of green chilies, and then I had a part of an onion chopped up in a Ziploc bag, and I added that. I continued by seasoning with some garlic powder, some crushed red pepper, and then I'm going to come in with this big can of tomato sauce, and just put that in there. And once my macaroni noodles are all cooked up, I know it looks crazy that I'm pouring some of the water from my pasta into this pan, but I wanted to cut down some of that tomato sauce. We don't like our goulash to be really tomatoey, more of a soupy texture, and then my macaroni noodles are really al dente, and I want them to continue to cook in the goulash mixture and soak up that tomato sauce. And I know that these noodles are going to absorb or reabsorb this sauce and water and get all nice and tasty. So once that was all done and everything was mixed in, I just put the lid on and let those noodles continue cooking. And in about 5 to 7 minutes, they were all done. And as you can see, all of that extra liquid that I put in there has cooked in just fine. And to add another tasty layer of flavor, I just sprinkled some grated Parmesan cheese on top. I know everybody in our house likes Parmesan cheese. And I made a huge pan, of course, because I can't make goulash unless I make enough for the whole neighborhood. And here is my finished bowl, and this was our Friday night dinner. It was so simple, it was so quick, and it was so good. And finally, our last meal of the week, but our first official day of Memorial Weekend, we are just going to grill up some dogs, and I am making some mac and cheese for the kids. Bill and I are having some macaroni salad, but it is store-bought, so nothing to show you there. And for a dessert, we are going to have strawberry shortcake, and I am just getting those strawberries washed up and taking the stems off of them, and then I'll mash them up, add some sugar, and that's it. We were in the mood to do some grilling, but we weren't really in the mood to go all out for it, so we just kept it really easy and just did some brats and some jalapeno cheddar, better cheddars. And so we like to have something sweet, and decided to keep it simple as well with some of the strawberry dessert that I made before with the mashed up strawberries and ice cream and the Sara Lee pound cake. So as you know, I don't use my oven. I don't bake, especially, well, I mean, I use my oven, but I don't like to bake or turn on my oven in the summertime. And as it has warmed up, I began looking for other alternatives. And so when I got this pound cake the last time, like a week ago or a couple weeks ago, I can't remember, the guys really liked it. And so when I suggested that we do something like strawberry shortcake, they were like, can we get the pound cake again? And so this is what we're doing. Now, this pound cake says that there are 6 servings in it, but I usually cut it up into about 12 slices. And this is just one of the many convenient ways to have a baked item without baking. This is in the freezer section at Walmart. Thank you, Sara Lee, for all your help today. And I just went out and checked on the grill, and we are just doing a charcoal grill on this day, and it's super easy and quick. I just chopped up some onions for the guys, and we're just having mustard and ketchup and pickles. Like I said, keeping it really simple. And here I'm just getting my plate ready. I had some of the jalapeno better cheddars and some of that Walmart macaroni salad, and you'll see lots of shadows going on and lots of hands and things moving. That's just my family, and we're just kind of all reaching over each other and making our plates here. And I'm going to add a couple of those pickle slices, and that is our dinner. And for us, this really kind of just kicks off our grilling season. And after we had dinner, I did make our, well, mine and Bill's desserts. Cameron does as a little different because he doesn't like mushy food, so he just had some strawberries and some ice cream and a piece of that cake on the side. So I just added some of the ice cream to our little dishes of pound cake and added that sweet strawberry topping to that. And then I'll just hit it with some sugar-free whipped cream for mine. I'm the only one that likes whipped cream in the house. And that wraps up this week's What's for Dinner. I thank you so much for stopping by and watching. If you had fun here today, please consider hitting the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.